Good afternoon, my dear students. Today we will be having the practical class. Okay. Today we will be discussing about the oral and parenteral dosage forms. Last class I taught you about the various routes of administration. Today's class is how or in what all ways we can have oral drugs or parenteral drugs. Different forms, that is the dosage forms. For example, the dosage forms, we can have oral dosage form in the form of a tablet, we can have it in form of a syrup, and we can have it in form of a powdered form also. Today in this class, we will be discussing about the competency, that is 1.3, where we will enumerate and identify the drug formulation and different drug delivery system. Actually, if it was a live class or live class, we could have done a small group discussion over here. But since it is online, we are just going into the demonstration mode of teaching. First, coming to the oral dosage form. As I told you before, there are different kinds of oral dosage forms. Now you can also imagine what all kind of oral dosage form you also had whenever you had a fever or a stomach ache. Okay. Going into the types of oral dosage form. So, there are three different types of oral dosage forms. One includes a tablets, that is the most common type of dosage form. Second, a capsule, where you can open a tablet and see the content inside the capsule. Okay, those are capsule, colored kind capsules. I hope you most of you might have seen a capsule. And the third one includes liquid oral formulation. Usually we prescribe liquid formulation for kids and older people who find it very difficult to swallow. So the three different types of oral dosage form includes the tablets, capsules, liquid oral formulations. Coming to the tablets. Tablets are the most common dosage form used by the normal people. Or we usually, whenever we get fever, use a tablet. Okay, that is paracetamol. Now, this tablet can be available in various shapes, size, and doses. Have you ever seen different colored kind of capsules, different shaped capsule? The paracetamol, that is under the brand name Dolo, and the other branded paracetamols, they have different shapes, isn't it? One will be circular, the other one will be pill kind of shape. Okay. Coming to the classification of different types of oral tablets available in the market, that is, what all different kinds are available in the market. Now, simple tablets can be available as film coated. Film coated means there will be a thin layer of covering over the tablet. Even you break it off, you can just peel it out. Okay, that doesn't mean while eating you should peel it out. This is all done to mask few disadvantages these tablets have. Okay, so the first one is film coated. The second one includes sugar coated, where you feel the taste of sugar. The third one, sustained release, where you just need to have a tablet and the release of drug takes at a regular interval of time. The fourth one includes the entry coated tablet, where some tablet gets degraded in the stomach due to the acidic power of gastric acid. Where that is not necessary, we give entry coated tablets over there for such drugs that should not be degraded in the stomach itself and it should be absorbed in the intestine. For such condition, we give entry coated tablets. And sublingual tablet, as the name suggests, it will be kept under the tongue. And finally, dispersible tablet, where the tablet will be in the form of the tablet will be in the form of tablet shape, but when you put it in water or water, it will just disperse itself into powdered form. Okay, so finally the classification of oral tablets includes film coated, sugar coated, sustained release, entry coated, and sublingual plus dispersible tablets. Now coming to the first one, the film coating. As I told you, the tablet will be covered with thin layer of polymer substance that will protect the drug or the tablet from atmospheric conditions and also will help to mask the taste and odor. As in the picture you see there are different colored tablets also with film coating. So this is usually done to mask the taste and odor of the tablet. Usually when we have a tablet we have that what you say sour kind taste. ഒരു കയ്പ്പ് രുചി നമുക്ക് എപ്പോഴും തോന്നും ആ കയ്പ്പ് രുചി മാസ്ക് ചെയ്യാനായിട്ടാണ് ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു ഫിലിം കോട്ടിംഗ് കൊടുക്കുന്നത്. But most of them we feel the kaip also ഇല്ലേ. So this is done to mask the taste and odor of the tablet. Coming to the next classification, that is the sugar coated. Here this is also done to mask the unpleasant taste the tablet will have, which where the tablet will be covered with a sugar coated polymer sheet like membrane. Now this is also made so that it will be palatable for us because of the unpleasant taste, to mask the unpleasant taste. Now the process of sugar coating is not so necessary, but I have just mentioned in my slide how it is being sugar coated. Those who are interested can read and understand these steps how they are done. Okay, so sugar coating is also done to mask the unpleasant taste. Coming to the third classification, that is sustained release drug. Now, according to definition, a sustained release drug is any dosage form that will provide medication over an extended period of time. That is, you have one drug once a day, and that dosage form or the action will be available for an extended time. Another term you should understand is controlled release, where the drug or the dosage form will be able to provide actual therapeutic control. That is, the steady state will be maintained in the plasma by their controlled release. So two types are there: sustained release and controlled release. Next time whenever you get a tablet, please read what is written in the what you say over the tablet's name. Tablet's name aside the tablet's name itself we can see, for example, metformin sustained release tablet, or metformin SR, or Pandop DSR, where SR is abbreviated as sustained release. Next time you see or go check your grandparents medicinal box, where you can find many drugs having sustained release properties. Okay, now what are the advantage of this sustained release drug? Improved patient convenience and compliance. That is, they need only less time to have this, less free interval to have this, not interval, frequency, less frequency to have the drug. When you ask a patient to have a drug twice or to have once, which will be better? Once. So the patient has better compliance and convenience in having a sustained release drug. Second, it will reduce in the fluctuation in the steady state levels. That is, a better control can be achieved for certain disease condition where the plasma level of the drug remains the same and the systemic side effects will be less. Also, there is increased safety margin of high potency drug due to the better control of plasma level. Okay, these first three advantage isn't just enough. So understand, first one, patient compliance and convenience. Second, there is no fluctuation in the steady state. As a result of this, there is increased safety margin and potency of the drug with this better control. Okay, these are the three advantages of sustained release. Now coming to the entry coated. As the picture shows, the stomach is friendly towards the tablet. It will protect the drug from gastric juice destruction and also prevent gastric irritation. So such drugs where it is required to be absorbed from the intestine can pass through the stomach, reach the intestine and get absorbed very fast. Advantage of an entry coated tablet includes drug irritating to the gastric mucosa, which includes aspirin and strong electrolyte can be will not irritate. Okay, drugs that are destroyed by low pH of the stomach. Because of the pH, some drugs will get destroyed. So for a protection, prevents destruction. Such tablets can also be made to into entry-coated, and drugs that cause nausea and vomiting if they are released in the stomach. So these drugs can also be entry-coated and used as entry-coated. So it will be an advantages for this drug also. Okay, drugs that are to be released undiluted and highest possible concentration within the intestine. That is, those drugs that should reach the intestine can also be given entry-coatedly. So this is also one form of oral dosage form. Coming to the next form or classification of oral dosage form includes sublingual, where the tablet, as in the picture shows, it is kept under the tongue, where there is vast, what you say, vascularity and absorption of drug takes very fast. And also the advantage is fast absorption plus no first pass metabolism. Such drugs are given in case of emergency, where we require emergent action of the drug. For example, a patient comes to you with chest pain. We usually advise the patient to keep glyceryl trinitrate under the tongue so as to decrease the anginal pain the patient has. It is an example for drug that is kept sublingually. Coming to dispersible tablets, those who finds it difficult to swallow a tablet, usually children and old age people, when they find it difficult, we usually prescribe dispersible tablet so that they can be put in a glass of water and allowed to drink. Nowadays, many drugs are available in dispersible form. Now, this is another example of a drug that is dispersible aspirin. Usually, we prescribe aspirin for chest pain as an antiplatelet drug. Plus, also it is used for headache and migraine. And also on the other side, we use azithromycin. I hope most of you might have had azithromycin in the brand name Azzy, Azibest, etc. Now, since this is a kit tablet, Azzy kit, the tablet dosage form will be dispersible. As I told you, usually dispersible tablets are mostly prescribed for children. Coming to the capsule dosage form. I hope most of you might have seen the capsules. Most of the antibiotics, especially the what do you say, when we all go with the URTI, that is upper respiratory tract infection, the doctor prescribes an antibiotic. Usually when you open it, it will be a capsule form. Okay. Now, coming to the capsule, have you ever seen different types of capsules? Just imagine, not only the colored form, there are soft shell, those capsules where you press it, it goes inside. Have you ever seen? For or else, if I say give you an example, the old our what do you say vitamin tablets are usually soft shell capsules. So even in capsules, there are different kinds of capsules. One is the hard shell capsules, those where the antibiotics come, or those which we can open and see the content inside, hard shelled capsules. Second one is the soft shelled capsules, those cod liver oil capsules which the Gulf people brings, usually red in color, those which are slimy with the what do you say where we can press it, isn't it? Soft shell capsules. And third one is spanules, where the inner pellets can be seen from outside, transparent capsules. And I hope most of you might have seen the hard shell capsules, soft shell capsules, and spanules. Coming to the capsules, as you see in my slide, there are two pictures. First one is the hard shell capsule, the other one soft gelatin capsule. Both. In the soft gelatin capsule, you can see what is the content inside. A slimy ingredient will be present. Usually, it will be oily preparation. While a hard shell capsule, it will be of dry ingredients or dry powdered ingredients. And mostly our antibiotics come under hard gel and gelatin capsule, while soft gelatin capsule, it is the oily preparation. For example, it is our vitamin tablets which are usually available in the soft gelatin capsule. I hope most of you might have seen these two different types of capsules. Now, what is the advantage of bringing a tablet dosage form in this capsule form? It is nothing but to mask the unpleasant taste of the content present inside it. Have you ever tasted the what you say മീൻ ഗുളിക എന്ന് നമ്മൾ പറയും ഗൾഫിൽ നിന്ന് കൊണ്ടുവരുന്ന vitamin that is cod liver oil മീൻ ഗുളിക എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. Have you ever tasted the content inside that capsule? It is very unpleasant. So to mask the unpleasant taste, we go into such a modification, that is soft gelatin capsules. Uh, so there are two types of capsules. One is a hard shell capsule, which are normally used for dry powdered ingredient, while the soft shelled capsules are usually used for oils and for active ingredients that are dissolved or suspended inside oil. So capsules First type hard shell, second type soft shell. Another example for soft shell is, I hope most of you might have heard about Evian tablets, capsules, and so not tablets, Evian capsules. Those capsules which are green in color, where the content is green in color. Usually we use it for skin conditions. Okay, I hope most of it. That is also another example for soft gelatin capsules. Coming to spanules. As I told you, in spanules you can see the granules, pellets or bead which are present inside the capsules. One part of the capsule will be transparent. Now this capsule can be easily dissolved. Okay, and when it reaches the stomach, the pellets come into the action, or the content that are present inside the capsules come into action. So spanules are drug-loaded granules or pellets or beads which are then coated with a slow dissolving polymer, or it may be compressed or placed inside a gelatin capsule. Now, the drug release may be controlled by the dissolution rate of the coat. Coat means the outer capsule, and also this contains a number of group of drug-loaded beads having coats of varying thickness. Each group within the capsule are then color-coded. Now, for example, for a spanule, have you ever observed or seen what do you say drugs that are given for peptic ulcer or for gastritis? That is like Pantop D or pantoprazole domperidone combination. Have anybody of you seen? If you have seen, you can observe it also has a transparent one end of capsule where you can see colored granules inside the capsule. If not, again you can go to the medicinal box that is present for your grandparents or parents and observe the uh, spanules and also the different types of capsules also. Coming to the second dosage form, that is nothing but liquid oral formulations. Again, liquid oral dosage forms of formulation has different types. First one, it comes syrups. Our usual cough syrups, paracetamol syrups. Mixtures. In mixtures, 2 to 3 ingredients will be mixed together to form a mixture, where usually a carminative mixture is a classical example under mixture, and what you say cough mixture is also again a mixture. Coming to elixir. Elixir contains has an alcohol content as a base. Such syrups are called or oral formulations are called as elixirs. Emulsions. Emulsions where the syrup will not syrup. I mean the liquid formulation will have a oily nature. Either the syrup inside the oil or oil inside water content. It will have such mixtures. And gels where you need to shake it before suspensions like gels or suspension where you need to shake the mixture or content before use. Okay, we'll go in detail to each one. Coming to the syrups. Syrups, mostly most of us have seen as in the form of cough syrups or any syrups, or those who have seen children at least having some syrups, isn't it? So these are the drugs that contain concentrated solution of sugar and flavoring agent with some permitted colors. Many of the cough syrups are pinkish skin color. I hope most of you might have seen cough syrups. Now few cough syrups are available in green color and yellow color also. This is nothing but it will be very sweet, plus it will have some permitted color. So syrups are those drugs which will contain in concentration form largely with concentrated solution with sugar and flavoring agent plus some colored permitted colors. Now, coming to mixture, where the drugs will be dispersed homogeneously in water by some harmless suspending agent. In the picture, I have shown bronchial cough mixture where it contains ammonium carbonate, ammonium chloride, and guafencin. Otherwise, most common mixture that we give prescribed children are carminative mixture. If anyone have seen carminative mixture, please go read the content. What are the substances that are mixed inside a suspending agent? Okay, what are the contents that are used to make carbonated mixture? Coming to elixir, as I told you, here there is an alcohol base or there is a proportion of alcohol in this liquid formulation. So, pleasantly flavored solution of a drug in sugar syrup or glycerol along with a higher proportion of alcohol. Such syrups are not now very freely available in our market, but This kind of preparation is available. Liquid formulation are available. You should have a note about this also. That is elixirs. Coming to emulsions. Emulsion, as I told you, they are two-phase system which contains liquid drug substances. Either they can be oil in water emulsions or water in oil emulsions. Usually they are administered for topical, oral and intramuscular routes. Topically, any what do you say? There are a few oil kinds of emulsions that are needed for the skin condition, dry skin, etc. And also in this picture I have shown fish cod liver oil emulsion. This is another example of emulsion where there is magnesium hydroxide and liquid paraffin, which is given for antacid as an antacid. Okay, emulsions. Coming to gel or suspension syrups, where here the classical example as shown in the picture, it is nothing but Digene syrups. Antacid gels and syrups are and antacid gel syrups are classical example for gel or suspension where you need to where it is required to shake it before use. Okay, because on what you say on standing still for a keeping it still for a long time will lead to sedimentation. To prevent sedimentation, you should shake the solution before use. Okay, finishing with the oral and the liquid dosage form, coming to the vaginal and rectal dosage forms. Coming to the rectal dosage form, two types are present. One is enema and suppository. I hope most of you might have heard about enema or suppository, at least in my dosage form. In suppository tablets are those which are placed inside the dosage forms that are placed inside the rectum, which will be either a bullet shaped with a slimy substance which is usually used for lubrication so that it can be easily inserted into the rectum. While enema is nothing but cleaning your rectum with soap and water. If you see, cleaning it with soap and water doesn't mean that you go put soap and water directly into your rectum. No, through an IV drip, we gush water into the anal region where patient who suffer from constipation for several days or impacted stool is present in the rectum or sigmoid colon, or just before surgeries we do this procedure. Okay, enema, it is nothing but normal term we say washing out the rectum, that is with soap and water. Now now since the technologies have advanced, soap and water has changed to many other medical what you say, it is available in medical bags also as soap and water. Before we use we before we bear, what you say, normally used soap and water to clean the rectum or evacuate the fecal matter from the rectum. When you have your surgery posting, you can observe such procedures that takes place in the surgery, especially for colonoscopy and sigmoidoscopy. We do enema. Coming to suppositories, as I told you, this is a drug mixed with glycerin or gelatin for rectal purpose. The most classical example for drugs that are given through or as suppository or through rectal is nothing but paracetamol. In children who are very incooperative for IM injection, we usually place paracetamol suppository. Plus, in old people who have fever, then again we another group of drug that can be kept as suppository are anti-epileptic drug, that is diazepam. See in the picture you can see the drug is in a bullet shape. You can see the outline as a bullet shaped. Plus, when you open it, it will have a slightly glycerin or gelatin for easy entry into the rectum as lubricant. Okay. This is another drug, Dalcolax, where the content of the drug is bisacodyl, which is used for constipation. Those patients which suffer from constipation, we place this drug inside the rectum. Again, if you see the tablet inside the box, you see it is bullet shaped with a slimy structure, a slimy material where it insert to keep the for the insertion of the drug for to be easy. Okay, this is another example for rectal suppository. I told one classical example is paracetamol, and anti-epileptic drug that is diazepam. Plus, you can remember this drug that is bisacodyl for constipation. Coming to enema, as you see in the picture, there is a man cleaning the poop from the rectum. Nothing but soap and water inserted into the anal region, which you will feel a thickening sensation. Finally, you evacuate your rectum. Okay. So this is a medical liquid preparation that given for constipation. Okay, for constipation. Usually before surgeries and for constipation. Usually surgery, I told mentioned it earlier, it is for colonoscopy or sigmoidoscopy. Coming to the vaginal tablets, most of the women will suffer from fungal infection of the vagina. For fungal infection, we usually prescribe what do you say, miconazole antifungal tablets, usually in the form of vaginal suppository, which can be placed into the vagina. So, example includes miconazole or ornidazole tablet or cotrimazole tablet, which can be placed inside the vagina for the specific days will be mentioned for fungal infections. We finished with the oral dosage forms and we come into the parenteral dosage forms. Here in the parenteral dosage forms, I told you parenteral form or parenteral route of administration means any route of administration which does not include the oral route, that is the mouth, GIT and the rectum. Any route which does not involve the mouth, GIT and rectum is called as parenteral dosage form, or it can be either defined as direct deposition of drug into the systemic circulation, which includes mostly injections. Here, the dosage form includes large parenteral dosage form and small parenteral dosage form. Large parenteral means our IV fluids. There are different kinds of IV fluids used in the casualty, plus in the ICU and in the wards. For example, one is DNS, second NS, and third one RL. RL means ringer lactate, NS means normal saline. So, these are the large parenterals which come under IV fluids, and also injection in ampules and vials. These are small parenterals, that is injection from ampules and vials. So if I ask you or if I tell you parenteral dosage form includes large parenteral, small parenteral. Large parenteral are IV fluids, small parenterals are those which are taken from ampules and vials. No, parental dosage form, the most important thing that should come into mind is that whenever we do the procedure, we must be sterile, the site must be sterile, free from microorganism. So, under what do you say, the procedure should be under aseptic technique with special clothing, gown, mask, hairnet, etc. So, precautions are necessary for parental dosage forms. What precautions? Aseptic precautions. These are few pictures which shows large parenterals, which includes, I told you about DNS, NS and RL. In this picture they shows 5% dextrose, mannitol injections, etc. where more than 100 ml of fluid is being loaded. They are called large parenterals. Okay. Small parenteral, before I told you, those which are taken from vials or ampules. Now this picture where there is heparin written as a vial and the above that is a ampule. I will show you the picture in detail. So these are two examples of small parenteral, heparin and lantus. Lantus is nothing but a form of insulin. So these two are examples for small parenterals where we give only 5 ml or 10 ml injections. Okay. Coming to ampule and a vial. As you see in the picture, the first picture shows an ampule where there's a conical head with a neck and a body. Here, what is the difference between the vial? Vial is a bottle which have a stout body with a rubber top. Okay. A Clear cut picture of the ampule. It has a conical tip, neck and a body where tapping, the procedure for breaking is tapping at the neck so that all the medicines come into the bottom, and slightly, what do you say, breaking from the neck by placing a gauze above it so as to prevent the injury to the hand. Okay, like that, we break the neck of the bottle and we draw the drug from the ampule. And here in the ampule only we can only use the drug once it is broken. You cannot keep it and restore it in the fridge once it is broken. So one time usage only is present in an ampule. This is a picture how to break an ampule. I told you, first tap the head or the neck region of the ampule where there will be some drug present over there so that they fall towards the bottom. A gauze is placed above the head and it is snapped away from the neck region. The gauze is kept to prevent the injury to the hand from the broken glasses. These are usually glass bottles. Okay. Now coming to the vial, as you see the vial is always stout with the rubber top above. Okay, here the difference between the ampule and the vial, here usually the drug present in the vial will be powdered form. Uh, we can mix the drug with distilled water at the time of usage inside the vial itself. That is why it has a stout bottle body. So we insert this distilled water from the rubber stopper into the drug. It can be shaked well and withdrawn from the above rubber stopper itself. And also it can be used, stored in the fridge for another time use also. So these two are the difference between a vial and an ampule. The drug taken from a vial can be repeated for one more time for. I mean, if it is a BD dose drug, that twice a day dosage, it can be given in the morning as well as in the evening if it is stored in the refrigerator or when however it is required. Just a recap of the insertion of parental route of administration. First one should have been a bit perpendicular while it is the tip is always present in the muscle, so no problem. But always intramuscular injection are always perpendicular to the surface of the skin where the tip of the needle will get inserted into the muscle region. While our intravenous, it is at least 60 degrees from the skin, where the tip of the needle is not necessarily 60 degree but the tip of the needle should be present inside the vein. Subcutaneous, where we insert it into the subcutaneous tissue at least 45 degrees from the skin, at an angle of 45 degrees. The tip of the needle should enter the subcutaneous tissue. And finally intradermal 15 degrees from the skin surface where a bleb is formed after inserting the drug. There is a bleb formation. Now, examples of all these route of administration is very important, and I hope most of you might have answered the question for the question which I had asked you in the previous class. Please keep repeating it so that you can memorize it every day. And with this, I come to the end. We come to the end of the class. Today's class that is about the different dosage form on oral and parenteral preparation. I hope most of the slides were clear and most of you could understand. If you have any doubts, please come. You can either comment me in the comment box or either in the group. You can ask me any question or you can ask me personally also. With this, we end the class for today and thank you. Please mark your attendance below the YouTube in the YouTube comment box. Thank you.